Hi everyone, and welcome to Bryn Athyn Sacred Space Online, where we offer special talks, music, and performances here every Wednesday and Friday on the Chaplain's YouTube channel. If you're interested in performing with us, please contact the Chaplain's office. And without further ado, enjoy the program.
Before I spoke a word, you Morning, friends. Thank you for joining me again for another Bryn College Chapel. And today, what I want to talk about is just all the contentiousness we're going around today, and how is it that we keep on moving our way forward? I think so much of it. I mean, one of the most critical parts actually is for us to be as best we can an unanxious presence through all of this. Now, of course, you're going to have different perspectives. No doubt, those of you watching have a wide, incredibly wide variety of perspectives. And I think God welcomes those perspectives and he welcomes them. And he reminds us of a couple of things. Like, here's all the perspectives. And God's constant reminder is to keep first things first. And that's this question: how do we always serve the common good? Keep first things first. How do we always serve the common good? In a way, we actually need these different perspectives. I remember years ago, I used to teach freshman religion way back in the day. And in teaching that, we would talk about like different perspectives on faith, and we used the famous Bryn Cathedral right across the road there from me at the college as an example. What I would do would be I'd get the students and I'd have them have a big circle around the cathedral, and they had to write what they thought and what they saw, excuse me. And then I would put some people inside as well and have them write what they saw. And we gathered together and we compared all those different descriptions. And here's the miracle, folks. The only way to really see the cathedral is to see it from all those different perspectives. We are blessed with one point of view. I want to say that again. We are blessed with one point of view. It just comes from a point. And that doesn't mean that our point is bad or wrong or that we shouldn't have it. No, of course, have your point of view. But remember, it's just a point. That's it. That's all we get. It's just one little perspective. If we want to understand things, we have to understand things in the round. And to keep the wheels from falling off on that, what we need to do is keep guiding ourselves as best we can, as humbly as we can, towards first things first, focused on the common good, focused to what serves the community. Now, Jesus talks about this a ton. And after Jesus dies, his followers continue to talk about it a ton because they realize that this was kind of the key to the Christian message. If we all have different perspectives, but you don't have that idea of the common good, you don't have that idea of kind of selflessly serving into these bigger pieces, what's kind of the point? Then we're just left completely atomized, pursuing our own thing for our own reasons in our own way. And that's not what really God is asking us to do. So where does that get addressed? Well, here's a fascinating part. So I do a lot of weddings. We have a young congregation. I do a lot of weddings, including some Bryn College alumni. So pretty much when the wedding season gets going, I'm doing one or two weddings a weekend. That's pretty common. Now, when I do these weddings, one of the things I ask couples all the time is, what readings would you like to have? I give them a list of readings, and there's a few that they almost always pick, like well over half of the time they'll pick a number of these that I can pretty much count on. Probably the most often picked one, and it's the most often picked one for good reason, is 1 Corinthians 13. Love is patient, love is kind. If you've been to a wedding, I guarantee you, dollars to donuts, you have heard it. And by the time you're my age, you will have heard it ad nauseum, almost to the point where you could just repeat it because you've heard it so many times. And again, I say that because it's actually deserved. It's a quote written by a follower of Jesus called Paul, and it is arguably one of the finest captures of the essence of love in Western history, in the English language. It's in a few short paragraphs. The guy nails it. The guy totally nails it. Well, here's the fascinating part, 1 Corinthians 13. So here's this passage that's quoted at almost every wedding you'll go to. And yet, it was not actually given at a wedding. Not actually given at a wedding. It wasn't at a wedding. Paul was not presiding at a wedding. I was not presiding at the wedding. Nobody's presiding at the wedding because there was no wedding. It was actually addressed this way. And think about this, folks. It was addressed to a community. Now, it wasn't just addressed to a community who everything was going smooth, everything was going great. It was addressed to a Christian community where things were really, really challenging, where things were incredibly hard. People were pulling at the social fabric. The social contract was starting to, I don't want to use the collapse, but the social contract was clearly under a lot of strain. People were making a lot of really poor decisions in terms of their morality. So you had kind of this toxic confluence of really poor moral decisions and strains on the community and this pulling apart, this fragmenting. Does that sound a little familiar, right? Because boy, when living in our nation in 2020, we definitely see some of that pulling away. And you can see that pulling away happens when we lose track of the common good. If we're not moving towards somewhere together, all there's left is to fight with each other. I mean, I say it all the time. I've said it to this college group before. One of the truisms of life, there's what we fight about, there's what we fight for. There's what we fight about, there's what we fight for. And if we do not have a what we fight for, we are only left with what we fight about, because this is where we access the better angels of our nature. This is where we access our egos. And you get to choose that. We all get to choose that. And it's something as a society we get to choose as well. So what I want to do is I want to read these words from 1 Corinthians 13 to you. And I want you to hear them. And I want you to hear them not as like, oh, this is so romantic. This is just great. I can't wait to share this with my girlfriend or my boyfriend. No, this is actually addressed to community. This is addressed to community. So hear it through the ears of someone, as you all are, as I am, living in the midst of a very strained, challenging time. Hear it through those ears. Hear it through those ears. And just notice how the words start to really ring home. They should be a little bit unsettling and bring a little bit of peace at the same time, as great scripture always does. So here we go, 1 Corinthians 13. This is from Paul. If I speak in the tongues of men or angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give my body over to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but just rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For now we know in part and we prophesy in part, but when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror, but then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And now these three remain, faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. That is incredibly powerful piece of scripture there. And it's something, maybe you want to like rewind this and just listen back through it. I've listened to it about a half dozen times over the past couple of days, just because it's a reminder that all my cherished opinions, all my this, all my that, and it's the same for all of us. None of it lasts. What lasts is love. What lasts is love. And that's where we want to sort of put our identity. That's where we want to put our effort, as we all search as best we can to have those different perspectives, to remember first things first, and to focus on serving the common good as God would have us see it. Take care, my friends. Wishing you the very best of the week ahead.